Hey guys, how's it going? Woody the Mortar Mauler here, bringing you today some tournament gameplay from the Alpha eSports Clash Royale 1,000 player tournament. This tournament took place over an entire day, and I enjoyed streaming the first half of it last night, but with the conclusion of the tournament today, I just wanted to share some of the final matches that I took part in and offer some commentary on them. So with that, I've got my little floating note here again to prevent you from seeing the results of the matches ahead of time, and let's jump into the first game against Schnaps from the Recluse. Miner, Mortar, Minion Horde is the deck of choice, and with this opening hand, I think I lead off with a Minion Horde Miner attack. It's great if your opponent doesn't have the response that they need. They typically need to have that one killer spell to take out the Minion Horde, otherwise they're out of luck. This time though, Schnaps does have the poison, gets a very efficient response against me, and I'm stuck defending now with a Tombstone on the back end. He doesn't choose to make the big push right now though, and so I'll take that opportunity now with these skeletons to block to drop a Mortar. Musketeer is a great response to the Mortar though. It doesn't have a whole lot of health and can't soak too many shots, but it does wind up taking it out, and the Mortar then locks on the Giant, and it's going nowhere. P.E.K.K.A makes a connection, though, and without any other support from him, that Giant's going down. Guards in the back end are fantastic at taking out the P.E.K.K.A, but it's a little bit too late for that poor Giant. And the Ice Wizard will finish off the guards. Excellent defensive card, the Ice Wizard. So I've got a few more points of damage on the right side tower, and a little bit behind an elixir. I think at this point Schnaps chooses to drop an elixir collector on the left side so that he can try to build an advantage to make that big push that the Giant decks really like to get. So in order to deny him that, a Mortar Tombstone gets set up on the right side to chip away at that right side tower a little bit more, while this Miner on the left takes out that elixir collector. It looks like just one pump or so left on it. Zap, a fantastic card to reset the targeting of the Mortar though, and I think that Mortar is not going to make any more connections. The Minion Horde on the left, poisoned to death, and the board state resets with me just ahead by one elixir against Schnaps, but ahead a few hundred damage on the right side. So that's where I'll continue to make my push, and starting off slowly with an Ice Wizard, just seeing what he's going to do. Seeing a pump, I decide that it's time to go for the Mortar attack. And expecting a Giant, I'm getting ready with my P.E.K.K.A. Unfortunately for me, though, he places the Giant pretty far back. Not close enough for me to be able to drop the P.E.K.K.A. right off the bat, but I'll take out part of this Elixir Collector before dropping my P.E.K.K.A. to start whittling away at this big old Giant. Nice guards and P.E.K.K.A. combination coming in from him, though, and the Princess on my end is not going to be enough to finish that off. He's got the blocker in there from the Miner, and unfortunately for me, his P.E.K.K.A. gets a swing off on the tower, and I'm in quite a little bit of trouble here. I decide that with that poison down, though, it's time to go in for a big attack, launch the Miner Minion Horde, and with a zap in there, I stun his Musketeer for a couple of seconds, long enough to bring his tower down to triple digits. Incoming guards and P.E.K.K.A. is a killer combination, very difficult to deal with because you don't necessarily want to respond with a lot of splash damage, and you don't necessarily want to respond with a lot of single target damage, so he makes a connection in here that is very difficult for me to defend against. Fortunately, though, I blocked that last shot from the P.E.K.K.A, and so I've got one more chance to make the connection I need. Miner Minion Horde is the weapon of choice, and fortunately, the minions do connect with the right side tower. Schnaps didn't have the adequate response that he needed to block that, and so with perhaps the last big push that I would have had that game, I do manage to scrape out the victory against Schnaps. Next up in our match gameplay is Matt, a fellow Alpha, good friend of the stream. Glad to have him in the tournament with us. So we exchanged some pleasantries at the beginning here, and I think that I wind up starting off with the Mortar. I've got Minion Horde, Ice Wizard, and Tombstone in my hand, both of which, the Ice Wizard and Tombstone, are great for defending the Mortar. Matt's choice of poisoning the Mortar, though, doesn't go as planned. He makes an overcommitment when trying to take out this Mortar, and so I just respond by saying, hey, you know what, I'll just go on the left side then. With Poison and Zap out of the hand, I make a big connection on the left side over there, and his tower down to 574 is not long for this world. The Princess duel turns out to be in my favor, and with that, It's going to be mostly a defensive game for me, trying to eke out a win just by playing defense and not really going at this tower too hard. In some ways, it's actually even better to have a tower on your opponent's side that's at low health than to actually have taken down the tower, because when that tower is still up, the enemy king tower is not shooting at you. So I'm very, very happy, in fact, with the 154 damage that's left on the left side. It's not quite within zap range, but it allows me to continue doing pushes over onto the right side with Minion Horde Miner, which you're about to see right now. Nice poison from Matt, though. He gets both the Minion Horde and the Mortar, so I'm not going to get a whole lot of more connection with this attack, but with that, the Mortar tagging onto those guards, and another zap goes off to put me in a pretty good position against my opponent here on the top. Ice Wizard blocking the shots from this Miner on the right side, just trying to keep that tower as healthy as possible. Matt's starting to laugh now. He's realizing that he's in a tough spot. I think he comes back, though, and makes a counterattack with a Valkyrie, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Princess, if I recall correctly. My Princess, though, does lock on his Princess. Now, I guess we don't see the Mini P.E.K.K.A from him. But with that poison hitting the tower, I decided to go in for a Minion Horde Miner push. That Ice Wizard just makes mincemeat of those poor minions, though, and it's back to defending now. Miner straight up right on the front of the tower. Gonna get a couple swings in before he gets taken down by my Mini P.E.K.K.A. Tombstone there in the center does a fine job of blocking these legendaries from being able to hit me, and I don't have a very strong position at this point, so I want to make sure that I can take out that left side tower. I think Princess is the best way to do it. Miner would have been fine, but I wanted to preserve my ability to block him from making any big attacks. And with just about 15 seconds left, Matt says, "You know what? It's over. I'm not gonna do these shenanigans any longer," and he poisons his own tower. So, still was over half health on the right side and feeling pretty healthy. I make a little push again onto the right, but not necessary. Good game, though, from Matt, fellow clan member in Reddit Alpha, and well played. Let's get our note back up to block the results of the next match, and as soon as it loads up, we'll hop right into it. It's against tromis from Van to Black. Let's take a view. Joining the tromis in the P.E.K.K.A playground. I think I start off with the Mortar here. Mortar, supported by Ice Wizard and Tombstone. Again, a very strong combination. I wish that I had my poor Miner for this situation, but alas, we're just going to start whittling away with our Mortar here. Seeing the ground troops, I decided that it's time to block that with the Minion Horde. I know he didn't have enough elixir to be able to kill them outright, so with just the zap coming in, I'm going to take a few swings of this elixir collector while my minions tear down this wall, or tower, as the case may be. And an early lead against tromis. Quite happy with the results so far. I know I'm a little bit behind in elixir, but with that tower down on the right side, it's a lot easier to take out that musketeer. I drop a Mini P.E.K.K.A directly on top of her, and with 2 swings, he's already done with her and going for the giant. I think Tombstone's a fantastic include in this deck, by the way. I kind of waffled back and forth between Tombstone, Skeletons, Goblins, Guards even, but I really need another card besides the Mortar to be able to draw fire from my opponent. You'll see in a lot of decks that have like Hog Rider in them, for instance, they'll be able to incorporate a cannon into their deck so that they have something to draw enemy units that target buildings away. I really consider the Mortar to be my win condition, and don't try to use it defensively if I'm able to get away with it. So Tombstone serves that purpose and does it quite well. Miner goes in to take out this elixir collector, and I choose to zap here. Not fantastic value, but I think that I got another swing out of that Miner as a result, and since the elixir collector was already pretty low on health, and I was able to get another pump out of the elixir collector with that zap, I think it was value. Tricky spot over here on the left, though. Giant coming in with Mini P.E.K.K.A. I'm forced to drop a Minion Horde into the poison to take out this giant, and not a good position for me. I wish that I still had a Mini P.E.K.K.A to be able to deal with that, but not in this case. The tromis has got an appreciable elixir advantage over me now, and so I do wind up dropping the defensive mortar. I think it is going to get a shot or two off on this musketeer, and that's something that I really need to be able to prevent him from just murdering me with that high single target damage on the musketeer. With that, though, we've taken out the main push here, and I don't think that he's got enough juice to do another big assault like that. 12-10 on the left tower is still quite a ways away, out of reach for him, and so with that, we're going to close out the game, and well played by the tromis. These giant decks give me a lot of trouble on the ladder, but you just really need one big connection with the minor Minion Horde to be able to turn it into a defensive game. So with that, let's hop out of the tromis game, scroll back up, and the next one is against Heels. Heels is a member of the Clash Wars family. He's currently not in their clan. Decided to take a break, I guess, but let's see how things go against Heels. Leading off with the Furnace in front, I drop a Mortar of my own. Mortar does a pretty good job, actually, against a lot of the Furnace decks. Does a lot of damage to the Furnace, draws away those Fire Spirits, and unfortunately for me, I don't get the lock on to the Furnace that I want. That Mortar just kind of sitting there for a long time, not shooting at anything. Another one of the results of the range bug that we have explored multiple times. The Mortar just kind of sat there for a few seconds, but it's back to firing away now, and I think that we only get one more round of Fire Spirits going up against us, maybe two, but I think that with the poison down and the Fire Spirits out, it's time to go in for a minor Minion Horde attack. So I move in. Musketeer is the answer to try to finish off these minions, but a zap is a great response to that, and the minions do their job on the right side, taking the first tower just in the first minute here against Heels. Next up is another Mortar. I've got a slight elixir advantage against him, and I think that I can make a move here on the left side. So I set one up over there, and if I recall correctly, Heels winds up either disconnecting or rage quitting or something, because he sits here at 10 elixir for a little while, and it becomes apparent to me not long after that the game has been thrown and he's not into playing anymore with it. But we got a good minute of gameplay out of him from this, and so I'll shut down this tower on the top here and hop into the next game. There's a slight element of it being advantageous for you if you think you're really far behind to just quit out of the game. It lets you cycle back into your next match a little bit quicker, so we're not going to call too many shenanigans against someone like Heels who did very well, but I always like to try to close things out as decisively as possible and stay in the game as long as I can. With that, though, we're going to go up next against Ignacio AC from Venezuela United. Starting hand is Ice Wizard Miner, or rather Princess Miner. Not a very good opening hand. I don't really have any lines of attack, so I just decide to drop the Tombstone here defensively. I see a pump on the right side, though, so I'm probably going to make an attack over there. Seeing these goblins come in, I'm going to finish them off with a Minion Horde, hopefully trying to get in and do a little bit of damage to the right side over there while I have that miner still tanking. The zap goes off, but I zap him myself to try to get some additional damage off, and it does work quite well, bringing that tower on the right side down to 1072, and tied on elixir, considering the princess on the field, but then again, he actually does have a pump, so I was behind a bit in elixir at that point. But Princess is the answer to his, and we'll see if I can't defend against what he decides to throw down. Minor Minion Horde is his weapon of choice as well, though, so I've got to be pretty careful. I do have several good answers, though, in the Ice Wizard, Zap, and Princess, but neither one of them, or none of them, rather, are sufficient in and of themselves, so I've got to play carefully here. Tombstone does great work against the mini P.E.K.K.A that he deploys, but the Ice Wizard coming in hot finishes off those skeletons combined with the zap and shuts down the offense that I had on the right side. So behind just a tiny bit in elixir right now, I've got the Princess out there, and looks like I'm able to successfully drop the zap onto the goblins. I knew that they were coming in, and hovering zap over your princess is a pretty good play if you expect him to drop little chippy units like skeletons, spear gobs, or goblins to try to take her out. So with that, we're moving into the last minute of the first part of the match, and doing quite well. I drop the Ice Wizard, and unfortunately don't really have a response now to this Minion Horde. It comes in hot, and I quickly cycle back to my princess, but not without taking a few hundred points of damage over on the right side. Significant connection from Ignacio, so well done by him on that. But I decided to go in. Minor Mini P.E.K.K.A is the line of attack, and I'm making as much of a connection I can with those, but I don't finish the tower off yet. I've got to defend here against this Mini P.E.K.K.A, so I drop a Tombstone. But unfortunately for me, that Mini P.E.K.K.A is not going to have anything to do with that. Decides instead to go for the Ice Wizard, so I'm back on defense in a kind of a tricky spot here now. Fortunately for me, though, that Princess gets a shot off against the Minion Horde, and so I stay in the game a little bit longer. I'm behind on Elixir, though, and I drop this Tombstone a little bit aggressively, trying to distract the Mini P.E.K.K.A. I don't keep my own Mini P.E.K.K.A, though, and with that, I'm behind now. And want to make a connection in here, trying to figure out the best way to get it done. I unfortunately dropped my miner directly on top of these goblins he has. I don't get the zap off in time, and I realize I'm in a tricky spot with a minor Minion Horde breathing down my neck. I miss with the zap and let several of his minions connect with my tower, and so a very close game that I thought that I was going to win there for a long time, wind up losing to Ignasio, rather. And you can see just how deadly that minor Minion Horde combination is. Whenever it connects with the tower and you're able to take those little critters out, they do a ton of damage. And so with that, I drop 1-0, but very well played from Ignasio AC from Venezuela United. So having just suffered a very heart-wrenching defeat, we're going to hop into the next match against Judinio. And let's see if we can fare any better here. Starting play is a Mortar on the right side. P.E.K.K.A surprises me. Don't see P.E.K.K.A very often, but it is going to block all of these Mortar shots. So I've got to find a way to deal with this P.E.K.K.A. Minion Horde is the response, and a very, very good one. Turns out his ground-based army is going to get shredded up by this Minion Horde. And with the Ice Wizard locked onto the miner out in the back, he is dead on arrival. That miner's going to soak this right side tower, and the Minion Horde tears it all the way down. And very nice starting push against Judinio. He just didn't have the poison in hand, and so couldn't make the push that he needed to start off with here. Minor Minion Horde is a pretty high-risk, high-reward starting play. Oftentimes I like to sit back on defense and wait to see what his potential responses to Minion Horde are. I like to see the poison go out of his hand, the fire spirits, the arrows, whatever he may have before I go in for the attack. But if they don't have the right response, that's going to be an easy tower that you can take.
Let's go.
So minor Minion Horde is the option again. I hadn't yet seen the poison from him, so I thought that I was in a pretty good spot here to make the attack. I still actually haven't even seen the poison. The Ice Wizard and Zap combination does work on my Minion Horde. So I drop an Ice Wizard in here to keep my own princess alive. I know he doesn't have Zap, so I wasn't really sure what he could do to take out this princess easily. Mini P.E.K.K.A, though, comes in for the kill and forces the Tombstone on defense from me. So I know I'm behind on Elixir now. I see the P.E.K.K.A going down, and I've only got 4 Elixir myself. So I decide to try to take advantage by dropping a Mortar to hit the left side. His response is a little bit slow here, and so I'm able to finish off this miner that he sends in on the attack with a Mini P.E.K.K.A of my own. Unfortunately, my Mini P.E.K.K.A gets shredded by his real P.E.K.K.A, and 1051 has a lot of damage left to do. I decide to send in the miner to try to get some chip damage off on there while my Tombstone Guardians protect and get a little bit more damage with the Minion Horde, but it's not quite enough. The Mini P.E.K.K.A and the full Paladin P.E.K.K.A connect with the tower and bring it down for a disappointing conclusion to that push. I was hoping to be able to finish him off right there, but let's keep going at it. The miner, you might notice, is positioned exactly so that the King Tower is unable to shoot at him over on the left side there. If you drop it in the bottom outside corner, that's the sweet spot that you want to use it in. So that's where it goes down for me. The next line of play is a Mortar from my side. I probably should have had a Tombstone before dropping it off like that. If he had dropped the P.E.K.K.A directly on it, I would have been in trouble. But we send this P.E.K.K.A around several times, trying to chase our mini P.E.K.K.A and our Tombstone before we finally take it out, and have a nice spot over here to make a counter push. Double Mortar going down, and with the miner dropping in to say hello, the defense on the left side is just not enough, and we take that 2-1 without having suffered any damage on our king tower or right side tower. So well played by Judintinho. Next matchup is against Royale from Romania Warlords. That's my chair, by the way. I didn't just fart. Although if I did, what are you going to do about it? Starting off against Royale now, he leads with the Giant. Mortar on the opposite side is a great play. I didn't see the Giant in time, but if you ever get an opportunity to drop a Mortar on the side opposite your opponent's big pushing card, like a Giant or a Golem or anything like that, take it, because a lot of times they're not going to be able to formulate the response that they need to defend that side. So with just 2 elixir from him, he doesn't have any way of backing up this Giant on the left. I tear it down with the mini P.E.K.K.A and suffer some damage on the right side. Actually, oh no, it seems like I dropped the Ice Wizard to be able to block it. Mini P.E.K.K.A shreds through this poor miner. I could have gotten the zap in there to get maybe a second swing off on the left side tower, but I'm content to push the right and conserve what elixir I have. 260 is pretty low from him, so I'm not going to worry about trying to make an attack over there with my Mortar. Instead, mortaring on the left side, blocking these incoming Giant with Tombstone. He tears through that, though, with the zap, and I'm kind of in a tricky spot here because I don't have any high DPS units. The poison, though, tells me that the response needs to be a mini P.E.K.K.A. I can't drop the Minion Horde on him, so I kind of waffle for a few seconds here, wondering if I actually needed to respond, and I think that responding earlier would have been a lot better, but I do make it in with the mini P.E.K.K.A eventually, and proceed to get torn apart by his guards. So with that, Minion Horde Miner is the next line of attack. The Musketeer to defend is not going to be enough. The zap goes off to hit the Elixir Collector and the Musketeer, and I'll get a little bit more chip damage in on that pump in the left side tower before the attack is rebuffed by the towers.
Let's go.
Princess only needs 2 shots to take that right side tower down. She gets one off, but a quick thinking Royale from Romania Warlords drops the mini P.E.K.K.A to finish her off. 10 elixir, I just want to play a defensive game now, so the Mortar goes down in the center. I know I'm in a tough spot, though, because I got to defend this entire push, and I can't really drop minions on top of the poison, so I get them right on the edge there to finish off the rest of the clumping damage that he does. A lot of damage against this Giant, but I need to block it some other way. Tombstone is the weapon of choice, and with a big push going in on the left side, I decide that it's time to strike on the right. The guards predictably weren't set correctly to block the incoming miner, so I take those 2 swings that I need to wipe the tower out and just drop all the defensive structures and units that I can over on the left to keep that left side tower up. 468, 446, down to 402, 300 as the poison ticks away, but I keep it up and have a nice finish 1-0 against Royale from Romania Warlords. Next match in the series will be against Zerizano V2 from Swag Royale. Zerizano also playing a minor Minion Horde deck. He's got the Lava Hound in back to tank and get some pop shots off with the pups. So let's see how the Mortar does. I think it does pretty well against the Lava Hound decks. He's only got 3 elixir at this point, and there's not a whole lot of 3 elixir cards that can totally demolish this Mortar. So at an elixir disadvantage, he decides to just soak these shots. I fill up, and I'm like, what am I going to do against this Lava Hound? So I drop a Tombstone to distract. Ice Wizard goes in to slow it down, kind of waiting for him to drop another card. Poison is the weapon of choice, so now I know that I'm going to be able to hit this Lava Hound with a Minion Horde, but I need to wipe out the Princess first. Let's actually turn those notifications off. I need to take out that Princess first, so I do that with the Miner, and then finish off the Lava Hound with the Minion Horde in the bottom right. So Minion Horde still creeping in on the right side, has quite a bit of health. Fortunately for me, the highest health one starts taking a few shots, so I get a few swings in. But with that naked Minion Horde unsupported by him, it's not going to get any tower damage. Princess takes it out, unfortunately suffering one swipe from the Minion Horde, but going in for a little bit of tower damage. Countered by the Barbarians. Got a shot off against them, though, so the Ice Wizard is going to be able to slow him down and tear him apart. Mini-P.E.K.K.A to finish off this Princess goes in for the counter push, supported by a Miner in the back end. And there's a connection here. He's got just a Miner of his own to defend, no other ground troops to block this Mini-P.E.K.K.A, and it shreds that tower apart. Zerazano V2, lacking in ground troops, cannot distract this Mini-P.E.K.K.A long enough, and it takes down the tower on the right and brings that King Tower to just around half health. Well played comes in from Zerazano, and I think at this point he might have resigned to his position. Not interested in continuing the game. He does fall on his sword to finish the game off, and once I realize he's not playing any cards, I move in with the Miner, Mini-P.E.K.K.A, Minion Horde combination to finish off the King Tower and put him out of his misery. Next up in the series, Law from Genesis Roots. We exchange pleasantries, but again, I don't really have a good starting hand. I don't have the Mortar, and I don't have the Miner Minion Horde in hand, so I've got to just start a little bit slowly with this Tombstone going down. I do send in a Miner, though, to try to hit this pump action on the left. Apparently he thought I was going for the tower, so he defends with the Musketeer on the left side. Maybe he was actually just knowing that I wasn't going to go for the tower and wanted to finish off the Miner that way. Princess, poorly placed on my end, though, does not soak the shot, or rather does soak the shots from the Musketeer that I didn't want her to. And Law has got a very good start off against me, plinking away at this left side tower with his Miner, as the Mini-P.E.K.K.A comes roaring in, shredding these poor skeletons. I don't think that the Mini-P.E.K.K.A is going to make any connection, but knowing that he's made a big push on the left side already, I choose to go on the right with the Mortar. Guards are going to come in on the left, but they're not going to do a whole lot. And meantime, I am making the assault on the right to the best of my abilities. But the Musketeer and Giant combination do take them down, and I'm left flat-footed here having to defend against this Giant with just a Mini-P.E.K.K.A. Guards out of his hand, though. I think he can only respond with a Mini-P.E.K.K.A of his own to block. So they'll take a swing at each other, and unfortunately, my Mini-P.E.K.K.A doesn't get the finishing blow. But with just a little bit of health left on that Mini-P.E.K.K.A, the Princess gets a shot or two off to finish him off. So I've got a small elixir advantage here, Crown Tower disadvantage on the left. Try to drop this Ice Wizard in to block the Miner, but not quick enough on my end, and I wind up losing my Princess over on the right. Pump comes in from Law, and I don't have the Miner of my own, so I think it's time to just... I actually wind up cycling into the Miner, playing the Minion Horde first, but he's got a poison, tears through that poor Horde, and I didn't get too great a value up against that pump. I know I've got to defend against this Giant Musketeer push over on the left, and Tombstone's the weapon of choice to provide the distraction that I need. Not really sure what to play at this point, though. I don't really have much of anything that I need to be able to take out this big ground-based attack. I would have liked to play the Minion Horde there, but I didn't have it in hand. So with the poison to take out my Princess, and a big connection here from his Giant, he brings my tower down, I believe, into the triple digits after the poison ticks off. No, just barely above it, but not a good position from me. I'm bleeding Elixir, and I don't really have much of any way of connecting against him, so I'm defending now with a Mortar, unfortunately, and just biding my time before I can drop a Minion Horde to try to deal with this big attack. But I get stopped over on the left, the poison goes down, and as the Miner is just picking away at my left side tower, I am lacking for a response. The Mini-P.E.K.K.A on my end goes down late, and with barely any tower damage on him, Law lays down the Law and wipes me out, a 1-0 victor in what can only be described as a beatdown on his part. So well played by Law. Next matchup is Vizard NS from Lazy Genius. Vizard NS also playing a Miner deck. He's got the poison zap combo that's very popular on the ladder right now. It's the 1-2 punch that provides all the spell power that you need to block most troops coming in. So Mortar is the initial line of attack from my end. I see a miner coming in, so the Mini.P.E.K.K.A is quick drop to try to take it out. I didn't distract the miner, but I did manage to take him out pretty quickly. I don't have a miner of my own, unfortunately, to deal with this pump on the left side. So I'm kind of stuck just sitting here waiting to see what my next move should be. Princess finishes off these guards, and we'll start to sneak in over on the right. I'm kind of debating whether or not I should do a minor Minion Horde attack on the left. I want to try to take out that pump if I can, but I need something to back up that miner to get value, and so I have to cycle through my Minion Horde to get there and wind up doing that. So Musketeer finishes off the poor Princess, but suffered one swing of damage, and so the Mini.P.E.K.K.A is going to be able to finish her off with just one more hit. And pretty nice response here now. He doesn't have guards in hand, so he winds up dropping a miner into the middle of the field and zapping the Skellies down. But Elixir and efficient trade on his part leaves me ahead and ready to start swinging again at the right side tower. The line of attack is a Mortar, and unfortunately I don't have the Mini.P.E.K.K.A that I would want to use against his giant. So I just drop an Ice Wizard to slow things down. I think I drop an Ice Wizard. There he goes. And decide that Minion Horde, I think, is probably going to be the best way to try to deal with this ground-based attack. Poison comes in, but it's a little bit too late. The giant is no more, and the Mini.P.E.K.K.A that he dropped into support doesn't get any connection besides one swing against that Ice Wizard. So, fortunately, the poison wears away before the Princess starts walking into it, so she gets a swing off. And I respond to this miner a little bit aggressively with the Mini.P.E.K.K.A. He does a very good job, though, finishing off that Mini.P.E.K.K.A with the guards. But in the meantime, the miner, uninhibited, takes down the tower to 934. Triple digits now from him, and I'm set to defend again. Just trying to maintain the pressure so that he doesn't get the opportunity to build up a big elixir advantage. Poison, a very good response against this Minion Horde, but the Mortar locks onto the pump that he's got and prevents him from getting the elixir advantage he needs to make a big connection. Bad miner on my part, though. He does defend it quite well with that Mini.P.E.K.K.A of his. And I'm in trouble here. He's got a big connection with the guards against my Mortar and coming in hot, but doesn't have the poison that he needs in time, and the Minion Horde wipes it out. Zap not enough to finish them off. And Ice Wizard and Musketeer do a little duel here, backed up by the Princess on my end. Mortar goes down, and he needs a giant. That's what he plays. Seeing that, though, I send in the miner to try to get some more chip damage on the right side tower, and am rebuffed yet again. That Musketeer Mini.P.E.K.K.A combo tearing through my assault. He plays an early poison, though, preemptively trying to prevent the Minion Horde on my part from making any connection. So, in return, I just stall a little bit and play the Minion Horde as soon as I can after that poison wears away. With the zap going down, he doesn't have any way of finishing off that Minion Horde, though. Giant out in front to block a few hits, but he's going to be suffering a lot of damage as Mini.P.E.K.K.A, Minion Horde, Princess all wailing away on this tower. Doesn't give him much of an opportunity to respond. The Mini.P.E.K.K.A from him does take out the Ice Wizard, but not before the final barrage of arrows comes down from the Princess, finishing off that right side tower with a 1-0 victory over Vizard NS. So let's see what's next. We're up against Matt again. The Reddit Alpha veteran makes a second appearance toward the end of this ladder, but he's back at it again and coming in for revenge. We've got a pretty similar starting hand. Mini.P.E.K.K.A, Ice Wizard, and Princess for both of us. So we do decide both to drop the Ice Wizard directly in the back, let him walk forward, and formulate the rest of our attack. Matt goes for the chip damage on the left with a Princess, and I don't really have a very good response. I could have dropped the miner to go take her out, but I figured that Tombstone's going to do the job eventually and provide me with some defensive cover in the center. Undeterred, though, he drops the Goblins to take out this Mini.P.E.K.K.A. I zap him down, but not before he drops Fire Spirits and Mini.P.E.K.K.A to finish that group off. He's at a disadvantage now, though, in terms of not having a response to the Minion Horde, and so I decided to go in with the minor Minion Horde attack. Unfortunately, that Princess was not interested in chipping away at the skeletons walking toward her, and instead takes out the Minion Horde. putting me in an awkward position, needing to defend against goblins now without the zap in my hand. That sends in a miner to finish off this princess on the right, while his own princess is making a move on the left. And again, I just don't really have a good response to this princess. I send in the Tombstone, but it gets zapped, stuns the Tombstone, and kills the one skelly that was making a connection over there. Finally, my skeleton started to whittle away at this princess, but she gets retargeted onto the skeletons, and I'm just left like wondering, what can I possibly do against all these princesses that are coming up against me? Mortar doesn't kill the princess, so I finally am forced to just zap her down and get into a very awkward elixir disadvantage and crown tower damage disadvantage. I decided it's time to start playing a little bit more defensively, make sure that he can't make any big push against my tower, now at half health on the left side. And so seeing him play the Ice Wizard on the right means that I think that he wants to go for right side damage, but I get juked out and he drops it on the left. Tombstone, though, soaks all the fire spirits and distracts the Mini-P.E.K.K.A. An excellent response on my end. And the Mini-P.E.K.K.A. is going in on the left to get a little bit more damage as the chipping continues over on the right side. Minions split up, and so give Matt a hard time on defense here. The miner continues to chip away, and Ice Wizard moving in. I've kind of rebalanced the scales here. I've taken a little bit more damage on the left side, but I think I'm on the offense, and I've got momentum in my favor. So I sent in Minion Horde to try to deal with this Inferno Tower. It was a little bit too aggressive. I don't wind up making the connection there. We trade each other's princesses, but unfortunately for me, he is able to finish off the miner that I sent in to take out that princess without losing his. I should have just zapped that entire clump, but I wanted to hold on for it for some reason. And at this point, we're just about balanced out again. I'm within 200 damage of his tower, so striking distance, certainly. I choose to go on the offense, and I'm rewarded with a few tinks away of damage on the right side, balancing out 900 all. He gets the elixir advantage and goes for a push of his own on the left, and interestingly places the miner kind of on the inside, so I don't get the block with the Ice Wizard. But we're going back in on the right. I preemptively played this Minion Horde thinking that he was going to play an Inferno Tower against the Mortar. He does eventually get around to playing the Inferno Tower, but in the meantime I've snuck a miner onto the back, and I'm just trying to eke out this defense that I need to get 452 more damage. Very, very smart miner play from Matt, though. He's varying up his placement of the miner and preventing me from getting the connection that I need to defend. But the miner of my own manages to get in, get a few swings, and with a shot from the princess against the Mini-P.E.K.K.A. that splashes onto the tower, I only need 120 more damage, and so the order of the game just becomes spamming as much as I can on the right side so that I can cycle back to my miner, get a little bit more chip damage in, and finish him off before he can make a move of his own on the left. The elixir advantage is what really was able to propel me to victory here, and so with that final Mini-P.E.K.K.A. not predicting exactly where the miner went, I finish off a very hectic game against Matt, closer than the last match, to be sure, and I'm happy to continue on in the tournament with a relatively appreciable win streak. So having conquered Matt, I move in for my rematch against Heels, the Clash Wars veteran, currently not in any clan, but ready to strike back for his recent loss against me. Heel starts out with a furnace, and I don't have the mortar to try to pick away at it, so I choose to go in with the miner. But Ice Spirit from him does do quite a bit of damage to my poor miner. Guards blocking the Mini-P.E.K.K.A. that I'd sent in to back it up, and I'm not in a good spot here. Behind on elixir to start off with, and having suffered a couple bits of damage on the left side tower there. Pondering my next move now. Musketeer Mini-P.E.K.K.A. Miner from him, the MMM, comes in. I zap the Fire Spirits, but a zap from him is going to finish off the Minion Horde that I thought might have been able to deal with this Musketeer. Instead, the Skeletons get a little bit of chip damage in, and I finish her off with a Princess of my own. I should have started pushing the right side, though. At that point, that was a misplay by my... And Princess should have been going down the right side. But by choosing to play the left side with him, I accept that I've taken a damage disadvantage, and we'll start to have to find another line of attack against him. Miner comes in, and I wanted to try to get a Minion Horde Miner attack in, but I'm behind on Elixir and suffering a lot of damage on the right, so I have to defend first with a P.E.K.K.A. Following right up after that, though, Minion Horde Miner is the line of attack on the right, if I recall correctly. No. Okay, so I do wind up just defending. I probably should have done a push at that point, trying to get a connection in there while his poison was down, but it goes in a little bit too late, and Heals finds the poison that he needs, finishing off that poor Minion Horde on the right side, and freezing the Miner that I had deployed to get a little bit of chip damage in. Skeletons, though, soak the Fire Spirits, finish off the Musketeer after she takes out the Tombstone, and I've kind of rebalanced now. I'm back on my feet again. Mortar targeting this furnace, but he says not going to have anything to do with that. Finishes off the attack with a Miner of his own. But the Mortar does eventually wind up trading into the furnace, and I go for the chip damage finally, back on the right side. Guards stab away at my poor little princess, and Minion Horde a bit aggressive from me, but I figure it'll get value by taking out the right side guards and forcing him to poison. However, very cleverly, he does not drop the poison, and so with no Miner to support the minions on the right side, I wind up suffering quite a bit of damage there. Zap comes in to finish off those skeletons, and I'm again flat-footed, having to defend the left side with just the Mini-P.E.K.K.A, not really having any way to block this Miner. I am taking quite a bit of damage from it. The poison comes in, and with that, Heals has got a decisive edge over me. I've only got one more chance to make a move on the right. The line of attack is the Miner Minion Horde, but not predicting that zap accurately, I lose the Minion Horde to the Fire Spirits and fail to block this Miner incoming, resulting in a 1-0 victory for Heals and the vengeance he sought for our previous match. So let's step out of there into the next game against Astrew from Madre Patria. The good luck. And without the Minion Horde in my starting hand, Mortar is the first line of attack. Seeing that pump on the left, I send in a Miner to start ticking away at it. I really like splitting with this deck. I think it does quite well because it prevents them from building up the big attacks that they need to take out my Mortar placements. So I get some chip damage in on both the left and the right. And behind a tiny bit in Elixir here, I'm feeling okay, sending in this Ice Wizard to do a little bit more chip damage. Unfortunately, though, Musketeer comes in, and she's behind the tower, though, so she doesn't wind up shooting the Ice Wizard until right before he's about to die. But with that, I decide to defend with a Tombstone. I want to try to get back to my Mini-P.E.K.K.A if possible, but not having that, I decide to defend against the Musketeer with the Princess. Musketeer just doesn't have a whole lot of health, and having sent in the Miner to finish off his Princess, I make a big move here on the right side with my Minion Horde. It does connect to the tower. The zap goes off to get some more swings in, and I bring it down to the triple digits on the right side. Strong starting play against Astrew, and we exchanged some additional pleasantries there. Well played. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have the Miner in hand, though, to deal with this pump, though, and so even though I have a damage advantage, I'm behind now in Elixir. Got to find some sort of way to connect here on the right side. Mortar, just barely too slow, does not wind up connecting. Mini-P.E.K.K.A goes in to stab at this Musketeer, but very well played guards by Astrew. Stops him or her right in her tracks. So, not really concerned about the right side of attack, but the left side, very, very threatening. I dropped the skeletons and the Tombstone to try to deal with it, but I'm forced to drop Minion Horde directly into this poison by Astrew. Brought down to 767 on the left side. I decided it's time to go get some more damage on the right. Mortar, fortunately for me, does connect and winds up bringing that tower all the way down to 54 points of damage. I just need to defend now against this giant Mini-P.E.K.K.A push. The poison's going to give me a lot of trouble, though. I soak this Musketeer on the right, going for the all-in to defend the left, and unfortunately for me, he makes the connection that he needs, and one more poison from him is going to be enough to take this left side tower down. I now get into a very complicated game. I want to try to defend this left side and force him to poison it, thinking that if I can force a poison on the bottom left, I can get a Minion Horde to go in on the top left. I sap his right side tower down so I don't have to deal with that anymore, and start trying to deal with this right side push. Mini-P.E.K.K.A goes in against the Musketeer, but the Musketeer with just a sliver of health left stays up, shreds through the Minion Horde that I had on defense, and I don't have any way of protecting my right side now. A zap or a poison would have been enough to take it down, but astrew finishes it off with the Princess, so very well played by astrew. A 2-1 victory over me as we near the end of the Clash Royale tournament hosted by Alpha eSports. Next match is against Morgan from Nova, UK. Minor Minion Horde in hand to start off with. That's the line of attack. The Elixir Collector from Morgan puts him at a 5 Elixir disadvantage and will give me the opportunity to find the cards that I need. He drops a Zap and a Musketeer, but they don't connect with the Minion Horde well enough. The Miner soaking shots and 4 minions on the tower. Gonna tag it all the way down into the triple digits to 358. I know I'm at Elixir disadvantage now, though, so defense is the name of the game. Seeing a Giant come out from him, I drop a Tombstone to defend and plink away on the right side with my Princess. Probably could have just let that tower stay up a little bit longer on the right, but wanted to force a response from him. Unfortunately, though, the Tombstone does not draw this Mini-P.E.K.K.A in, and so I'm forced to send the Ice Wizard in to block. Would have rather had that Ice Wizard to defend against this Giant on the left, but unopposed, this Mini-P.E.K.K.A is going to do a great job of taking it down. The Zap comes in against the Gobs, or rather the Skeletons, but a little bit too late. And with that, the Minion Horde getting sent in on the left is taken down by poison. I was hovering over my Miner, getting ready to play him, but with the poison out, I decided it's not the time to do that. Miner makes a move against this pump, but unfortunately the Mini-P.E.K.K.A from Morgan blocks it, prevents it from making any connection on the left. And so here we go again. Tombstone to defend against the Mini-P.E.K.K.A and Princess to finish her off. We're making another left side play here against this Giant. Princess connects with the tower and we'll get a few pop shots off. Morgan decides to respond with a Musketeer. And Ice Wizard on defense for me on the back left. I think the best card that I have to defend against the big pushes is the Minion Horde, so I drop that just as soon as I give him some value for the poison in the center of the map. And with that, the defensive Mortar, supported by Mini-P.E.K.K.A, Minion Horde, and Ice Wizard, all do their job and keep that tower nice and healthy. So I want to cycle back as quickly as I can to my Minion Horde. That's my best line of attack against the Musketeer, being protected by this Giant. But I don't get it quite there in time and suffer quite a bit of damage on the left. That Musketeer is not too happy in a low state of health. I could have responded with a Tombstone, but Minion Horde does the job. And so with just a few seconds left, I chip away at that right side with a Miner, reminding him how deadly that Miner can be when towers are close to death, and get the damage off that I need. Keep that left side tower in quadruple digits, and a 1-0 victory over Morgan just before he moves in with a big attack. Not many games left before the end of this tournament. Let's scroll back up and see what else we got. I think the final one here is against Insam from Gelatina Royale. 832 tournament trophies. He is one of the higher ranking players in the tournament, so let's see how things go in the final match of the tournament. Good luck to both of us. And no Mortar, no Minion Horde. I'm starting off slowly once again with the Ice Wizard in the back. Mini-P.E.K.K.A coming in on the right. Tombstone will be the defense against Mini-P.E.K.K.A, offering the distraction that I need, but unfortunately the Valk comes in and she will shred through all those poor skellies. I need some way to provide the distraction against this Mini-P.E.K.K.A, but unfortunately I don't get it off in time, lose half of my tower damage, And Insomnex offers an oops on my behalf. Zaps my poor Minion Horde and resets the field. Even elixir on both ends, but a very strong push by Insomnex on the right side there. I've got some fans spectating the match, though, and happy to get some confetti on my end. Reminding Insomnex that Woody the Mortar Mauler is no slouch. Showing that mortar off. And with split guards, don't really need to worry about them doing any damage. The defense now against this double legendary combo, I say, hey, I can do that too. Ice Wizard and Princess going to take out his princess, but the miner makes a move and finishes off those two legendaries, but not before the princess gets one last shot. With her dying breath, fires off a volley that finishes off the enemy princess. So a weak Valkyrie slipping in on the left. I decide to move in with the Miner Minion Horde. Unfortunately, though, poison goes down, and poof, the Minion Horde is gone. Time to defend. The Ice Wizard goes in to take out this this princess on the right, and does double duty, finishing off the guards in the center of the field. Mortar is the next line of attack, and with an Ice Wizard down, I decide that P.E.K.K.A is the best way to prevent him from making the connection. Guard also getting torn up by this P.E.K.K.A. The splash damage from the mortar does quite a bit of damage to the guards, and I'm moving in now, aggressively going in. Unfortunately for me, though, the princess, though, does get a swing off against my own princess, so I have to zap his down. Zap goes off against mine, but it's back at it again with the mortar. Tombstone to block the P.E.K.K.A, but the Valkyrie comes in. Very well played by Insomnex, knowing that he needs to get that splash damage off. He doesn't take it down in time, though, and the P.E.K.K.A, combined with the Ice Wizard, gives this mortar the opportunity to get several swings off on the tower. With the last shot, it brings the tower damage 1-1-1-0 all. 11-10, I guess I should say. And a tense match continues into overtime now. Tied on Crowder damage, right side of my own tower at 11-10. His now at 10-46. A lot of action on the left side bridge. Miners and princesses flying all over the place. Double elixir is a exciting time here in the arena. He manages to sneak a miner in on the right side, unopposed though, and so brings my right side tower down to 854. But it is a close match. Insomnex not holding any punches. Drops the princess in. His own princess, though, gets her target getting reset by the miner that he sends in. P.E.K.K.A finishes that off, but I've got to defend now against the right side guards. Two of them would be able to reach the tower, so I drop the princess to get that little bit of chip damage in against them. And I'm back at it again on the left side, dropping the miner, or rather the Minion Horde, but unfortunately for me, the princess takes him out. I've got to worry now against about another miner on the right side over here, but a mortar on the left side could be what I need to make the connection against this left side tower. Unfortunately, though, guards provide the defense, and I'm back in another tricky position against Insomnex. Valkyrie not going to make any connection on the right side, though. I've got the initiative. I send in a miner to take out this princess and try to figure out another way to block the right side. Unfortunately, he gets another great connection with that miner, but not before the Ice Wizard gets a few swings off on the left side. Mortar set up again to try to take out this left side tower. I know that his best line of attack is going to be that miner on my tower. He ignores the P.E.K.K.A on the right, though. It connects with the tower, brings it down to 562. I'm actually ahead on the right side tower relative to the left now, but a miner of my own makes a connection over on the left. Both of his towers in triple digits, mine at 330. I'm the weaker tower here, but I've got lots of different opportunities to hit both the left or the right side. P.E.K.K.A on the left is going to force a response from him. The P.E.K.K.A of his own comes in to defend. A miner with 60 seconds left in overtime comes in to hit the right side tower, but there's so many skeletons. I get the defense off. Miner on the left side tower gets the connection. The zap goes off, and in just a few seconds tears that left side tower down. A huge win in the final moments against Insomnex. 51 seconds left in overtime. Rounds out this Alpha eSports Clash Royale tournament. 1,000 players participating. And with that, we're going to swipe over to the tournament tab to see how things went and finally finished out. Clyde, you can see up here at the top, was our #1 finisher, 938 tournament trophies he ended up with for 15,000 cards. So congratulations, Clyde. The remaining top 10 also displayed here for the world to see. Isaparon, Talban, Law, Royale, a name I can't pronounce, Crystal, Pavel, CMC Hugh, and Captain round out the rest of the top 10. And then moving on to the top 20, we see some other familiar names. Mine in there at number 16, earning a 2,800 card chest. And scrolling down to view the rest of the top 50, you can see some other big names, great players, very well done by all. Thanks for everyone for tuning into the Woody the Mortar Mauler event broadcast. Happy to provide some additional high-level Mortar gameplay for you all to enjoy. Let me know what you thought of this. I love coming onto YouTube and doing these series. So please like, comment, subscribe, as per usual, and let me know what you think of the deck, what you think of my playstyle, and what you think of the games overall. Last shout-out I got to give is to Reddit Alpha. They're the #1 clan in the Reddit clan system. They are currently also in the top 200 global. Let's see where we're currently situated. I believe it's around the 120, 130 mark. 136 is where we're currently at right now. We currently have a 3,500 trophy minimum, but that changes as the season progresses. It typically, though, is around the number 25 mark for our members. If you're not yet at that point in the game, though, we welcome you to join any of our feeder clans. Reddit Bravo, Reddit Charlie, Reddit Delta are our 3 feeder clans in order. You can see Bravo and Charlie are 3rd and 4th on the Reddit leaderboard. And Delta, having just been founded a little bit a while ago, is moving up, working on that trophy count, and they're currently at number 26. So thanks again for everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the games. And this is Woody the Mortar Mauler signing out.